G'day viewers and welcome to this week's PB's Retro Restorations. This week it's the second annual DMC Ashes Challenge, and this year the challenge was to turn any British vehicle into an Aussie Ute. So I've chosen this Ford Escort Mark 1, the Hot Wheels edition. I already robbed the spotlights off it for another project, so I figured, the damage is done. What else can we do? So let's get crack-a-lackin', viewers, as they say, and see if we can't turn this British classic into a true blue fair dinkum Bonza Aussie Ute. So as I mentioned, I'd already pulled this apart to rob the spotlights out of it for another project, so I didn't have to drill it apart. I'm just going to put some washi tape over the top just to make a clear line for where I want to cut it with my jeweler's saw, and I'll come back after I've completely destroyed it. Okay, so far so good. I've removed the back half of the roof, the rear panel, the boot lid, all that stuff. And I think I'm going to use this Chevy truck tray and put it in there. I'll cut the mudguards off and make it fit, but I'm going to have to remove the rear seats, of course, and I may end up having to move the front seats forward. So this really was an evolving project as I went. I definitely wanted to keep the swoopy rear wheel, lines of the Escort, even with the tray in it. So I wasn't quite sure how I was going to achieve that. But here I am just smoothing it out. First Ute tray I cut the sides right off it, and I thought, I'll put that inside and then I'll make some, sheet styrene sides for it, and I thought that was creating a bunch of work for myself that I didn't need, and it wasn't really fitting properly anyway, so I trimmed the insides of the body again and I got myself a fresh tray and started again. Now this time I didn't cut the whole sides off, I just cut those step side wheel flares off the outside and smoothed out the sides. That way I had the insides of the tray, saved myself a bunch of work, and it looks a lot better, I think. So happy news, viewers, I've actually been able to buy caustic soda in my local area for once, so didn't quite get all the red paint. Red and yellow are always a bit funny with caustic soda for whatever reason, so here I am just cleaning up what was left of it. So I started trimming the base so it would fit the new body. And I probably went in a bit, I did go in too hard too early, and I started trimming it before I really knew where I was going to be at with the body. But like I said, it was a constantly evolving project, and I ended up making a whole new base for it after this, once I got it all glued together. with the position of where the rear window of the cab is now, it's going to necessitate moving the bucket seats forward. So I'm cutting the front part of the interior in half. I'm going to shave the edges of the inner door panels and shorten it up so they all fit inside the cab. Here I am creating the rear wall for the cab. I wasn't quite sure how I was going to do this initially, but I ended up using sheet styrene again, cutting it, finoodling it, gluing it in, and then putting some Tamiya putty over it and sanding it out. Now halving the window glass as well, and wonk, snapped another jeweler's saw blade. I snapped so many blades on this project, viewers. There is something wrong with me. I push too hard, or I don't know what it is. They're just so fragile. They snap on me. Anyway, it's my fault, I'm sure. It always is. Okay, now a bit of the old super duper, boys. The super duper. Copyright Martin Dare. And the big clamps. The little clamps weren't going to cut it today, so I got the big ones out. After I'd half stuck it to the bit of wood, I got it off. Yeah, alright, starting to come together. Now shout out for Michael down at Gravesend Diecast Restorations Australia. I know I've probably got that wrong, Michael. Sent me a box of cars, and in them was this Range Rover with a bull bar, and every Aussie Ute needs a bull bar. So as you saw, I pulled it apart, and it was a whole separate piece inside, so I didn't even have to modify it very much. So thanks, Michael. I was going to try and make the original rear bumper fit back on, but they end up going with the Milliputt Superfine. Set a timer on the Burt watch for 7 minutes so I can get it properly mixed and moulded together, otherwise it won't dry properly if you don't mix it properly. Rolled it out, put it on in the basic kind of shape, a little bit larger than where I wanted it to be, and when this goes super rock hard after 24 hours, I'll be able to Dremel it into shape and fit and finoodle it. It'll kind of look like a bit of a custom fiberglass fit underneath the tailgate. Now, you all probably thought when I said the end of my hopes and dreams that when I pulled this tape off, it ripped half the paint off. And it didn't. I had no paint stripping. It all came off nice and neatly. And then when I was moving onto it a bit closer, I don't know what was in that tape, but it reacted with the paint, and you might be able to see it in some shots. It got all tape marks all through it. But I thought, that's okay. I'll sand them back, shoot the clear coat over it, and we'll be good. No, we won't. I made this thinking I'd be clever and bend my little roll bar, like a master craftsman with a specially made tool, but it didn't really work. I couldn't get it straight, so I just used a pair of pliers in the end. But yeah, I thought I'd show you what I tried doing, and it didn't quite work out. Drilling a couple of holes now for the roll bar that I made for it. Yes, I was terrified of destroying it with the drill, but I didn't. I scratched it a bit, so I touched it up before the first coat of clear. Okay, so here's the sad part. I left this car in the Australian sun after putting 2 coats of clear on it, baking for a week and a half. Surely that would be enough to dry it, make it hard. Yes? No. After I was holding it here, doing some of the finer details, thumbprints all through it, ruined it. And because of the nature of the build with the milli putt, I couldn't just strip it again, so that's when I went for my age-old method of weathering it to cover up all my mistakes. Anyway. So time to make that modification to the interior parts. I've cut a piece out, sanded it down, had another check for fitment, and super glued it all together. I did spray paint it afterwards, but I got into a roll at this point, viewers, and I forgot to film myself doing most of all the weathering and everything, so you just have to see the final results when we get to it. Even after a week, viewers, the clear coat still hadn't set properly, and every time I touched it or put it on something, I got marks in the clear coat, and it annoyed me no end, is the polite way of putting it. Now I'm going to install the bull bar that I've spray painted silver. Thank you again, Michael. That came at just the right time for this project. I really appreciate that, mate. I'm going to hide the thumbprints in the tray with some, specially handcrafted 2x4s made out of matchsticks or something. I don't know where they came from. I did put a rust, weathering stain on them to make them look a bit more like actual wood and not matchsticks. But again, I didn't film myself doing it, so you're just going to have to believe me. I'm honest. You believe me, don't you? Of course you do. You can see the swirl marks in the bonnet there if you look hard enough. So annoyed. Now, as if by magic, and mainly because I didn't film the rest of me building it, we're done! Hooray! So here we are back at the start with our absolutely nothing wrong with it except it's missing the spotlights Mark 1 Ford Escort. I do collect these Escorts. I've got almost all of them. I don't have quite the collection Mick 67 does. He is truly the YouTube, if not the Cosmos's Escort king. But anyway, I digress. This is what I started with, and this is what we're left with now after much pain and anguish. Ta-da! Looking pretty good. Not quite $1 million, probably like $950,000, but it's pretty close. I really wanted this to be like a shiny U-Butte Smicko truck, and when I first put that clear coat on, I was stoked. I was loving myself. I'm like, oh, you've cracked it, PB, you've done it again. And then I put my fingers in the paint, you saw the results, and I ended up just putting some weathering on it, which probably doesn't look quite as good as it would have done when it was all shiny. Things I am pleased with is how, I'm not going to lie, I've got that Ute tub in there pretty seamless. It looks really good. And the wheel fit and everything. Overall, I'm happy with it. It's not the vision I had, but it's a result, and a result I'm pleased with. I hope you've liked it too. Well, we are at the pointy end of the year, viewers. Thank you for everyone's support over the year. I will try and have a video for you next week, but failing that, we will have the Christmas special. What makes it special? I'm not sure, but between Christmas and special, it'll at least be half. It'll be one of those things, if not both. So thank you very much again. If you've liked this video, give it a thumbs up, maybe a share. Think about subscribing. It really helps me out. Thank you very much. Have a great weekend, and an extra special shout out to my man KC. If you've stuck around to this long, KC, we're thinking of you in hospital, mate. We hope you're getting better soon. We can see your videos again soon, mate. Keep well, stay safe, and I'll catch you all next week. Thank you.